Welcome back to another episode of Teach Better with Ben. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of education, in my opinion. These are my pros and cons. One thing I want to tell you is this is kind of a video that's piggybacking off my last video where we asked ourselves 6 questions about if we should even become a teacher. If you like the content in this video and you want to see that video, the description will be down below. Let's get right into it. Thank you, guys. All right, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through my 10 list of pros and then my 10 list of cons. So stay tuned if you guys want to hear that, and make sure that you're hitting the like button and the subscribe button. Number 1 pro is that you get to hang out with kids all day long. I mean, who doesn't love kids? Especially on those days like field days, after standardized testing days, days whenever it's indoor recess or even outdoor recess. When you go outside, you get to hear some of the funniest things you'll ever hear in your life. So pro tip 1, if you like hanging out with kids, being a teacher is the best thing. My second pro is that aha moment. This is the moment when a student finally understands. If you've never experienced the aha moment in education, it's like magic is happening. Literally, like you just wave the wand and now all of a sudden it wasn't clicking and now it is. This is the best thing whenever you're educating children. The second pro thing I would say is the aha moment. Pro tip number 3, guys, summer breaks, vacations, off. Being able to take days off whenever everybody else is at work. You see people going to the work and you're just sipping your coffee on the back porch. Loving life. That's the best thing. Pro tip 3, summer breaks. Pro tip number 4, guys, is that you have the opportunity to be a great role model for children. If you've ever been around kids, you know that kids look up to adults. They look up to them positively and negatively. If you can be a positive role model for children, that's a great thing that you can do for your community and for the next generation. Number 5, guys, pro tip number 5, being off with your own children. So this only includes you if you have kids, but if you have kids and you have a day off because they have a day off, it helps whenever, so you don't have to ever get a babysitter. You don't have to worry about what am I going to do with my kids on President's Day, for example, coming up here. You never have to worry about what am I going to do with my kids because you're automatically off. Pro tip number 6, guys, if you have the opportunity to start fresh every single school year. And I don't know what other profession there is out there where every year you get the opportunity to start over. If you blatantly messed up, or if you did something wrong, or if you were a first-year teacher last year, then you get to be a second-year teacher this year. You have the opportunity to start over, start fresh, learn from your mistakes so you can become better. That's one of the best things about being a teacher. Pro tip number 7, guys, is you have the opportunity to learn new things consistently through PD. I know some people might look at that as a con, having to go to PD all the time, or professional development, but it's actually a great benefit to you because you get to learn new ideas and how to implement new things to make yourself better at your job. I don't know many careers where you have the opportunity to consistently learn and get paid for it. Tip number 7, you have the opportunity to learn new skills all the time. Pro tip number 8, you have the opportunity to work with your brain and not your back. Coming from a career where I literally went in every single day and physically worked the hardest I possibly could until it was dark outside every single day, and then switching careers and working as a teacher where I use my brain to be good at my job and not necessarily my back, is so much more rewarding. I felt good after going in and working hard, like I earned my pay at my old career, but now I feel good about working hard with my brain, and I don't feel bad for not going home sore and not being able to get out of bed the next day. Number 8 is working with your brain and not your back. Pro tip number 8. It's a great one, guys. Number 9, guys. Pro tip number 9. You have the opportunity for advancement. So if you are somebody that wants to go into administration, you have the opportunity to do that. There is many assistant principal and principal's jobs available in almost every single district every year because people either retire, they move out of the field, they get promoted even further. You have the opportunity for advancement. Now that doesn't automatically mean you have to be an assistant principal or a principal. You could be a coach, you could be a curriculum writer. I know there's some districts out there that have people who write grants. I don't know if these are necessarily promotions, but it would be something a little bit different than in the classroom, but you're still affecting the lives of children in a positive way. So pro tip number 9 is that you are able to have the opportunity for advancement. My 10th pro and my last pro for me personally is that you have the opportunity to create some of the most honest, best friendships with other teachers. The reason why I say that is because in my teaching career, I've had the opportunity to lean on people and let people lean on me whenever they're struggling, and it really creates a bond that nobody else understands. Nobody else in the world can you go to and say, hey, I think I might have lice. Can you check my head for lice? No other career can you say that and people think that you're normal. When you're a teacher and other teachers understand exactly what you're going through. If you say, yeah, I just had a student wipe poop on the walls, other teachers get that. Okay, it's weird and nobody wants it to happen to them, but it does happen. I just got thrown up on. Most people can't look at you seriously and not laugh at you. Teacher friends can do that. My pro number 10 is probably the most important to me, and it's having the best friendships that you can possibly have in almost any situation. Unfortunately, with teaching, there is some cons. These are cons for me that I wasn't really prepared for emotionally or organizationally, and I'm going to start off with con number 1, and that is the testing. Lordy, there is so much testing. Every time I turn around, my kids are doing another standardized test. There's so much testing that nobody prepares you for, that all you feel like you do sometimes is prepare for testing. So con number 1 is the testing. My second con has to be getting the standards taught, but not feeling like you're crammed for time. Overwhelmingly, teachers are crammed for time. We have so much stuff we have to get taught to the students, and there are so many things that the students need to know before the next grade or before their next standardized test, that we feel like sometimes that we're cramming and cramming and cramming. Obviously, this doesn't make for good education, because you're just throwing, sometimes you feel like you're just throwing information at students. If you're throwing information at students and not really checking for understanding, the students will get lost and maybe they won't grow near as much as what you thought they could. So for me, the con number 2 is cramming without the time and being able to keep that rigor high. Con number 3, guys, is sometimes, unfortunately, we are so focused on teaching the standards that we don't teach the whole child. I've noticed that some of my students come to me sometimes with gaps in their mathematics. Obviously, I teach math, so that's what I'm looking at. They come to me with gaps in their mathematics, and then I try to go back and I try to figure out what have they missed. Well, all that time wasted trying to catch them up, I also have to make sure that they learn all the standards. If I'm going back all the time and filling in gaps, then they're not going to be ready for the next grade, because I'm just now preparing them for the grade that I'm in. Sometimes, unfortunately, we don't focus on teaching a child, we focus on teaching standards. That's my con number 3. Con number 4, guys, is that sometimes whenever you need a day off, let's say your kid's sick or you're sick, you're at home with the flu, you actually have to prepare more for your job than if you would just show up. I know a lot of people think that being able to take a day off is just easy. And I know in most careers you can just call in and either somebody else does your job for you, or you just pick up where you left off from the day before. In education, it's not that way. You actually have to prepare more for when you're going to be out than if you would just show up. So con number 4 for me is preparing for a sub whenever you're not going to be there. You signed up to be a teacher, right? But then you have to sometimes be the teacher, then you have to be the secretary, then you have to be the parent, then sometimes you have to be the assistant principal or whoever your disciplinarian is, and then you also have to make sure that you're still the teacher. When you become a teacher, there's so many roles that you have to do every single day. You have to take care of children whenever they're not feeling loved. You have to make sure they're in a safe environment, in and out of school. You have to make sure that if there's any kind of disciplinary action that needs to happen, you're the first one that sees that. You keep track of all your paperwork, from your data paperwork to when your kids are tardy, how many times they're tardy, how many times they're absent. If they brought an excuse, you have to keep up with all your paperwork. You also have to, most of us have to run our own copies. We have to do everything that most jobs require only one person to do. If you are a teacher, unfortunately, you also have to be the secretary, the teacher, the principal, the assistant principal, any other administrative person. You have to be their parent sometimes. So con number 5. That's con number 5. You become the teacher, principal, secretary. Oh, and nurse. Don't forget about the nurse. When that kid needs a Band-Aid, you got to give them a Band-Aid. Number 6, guys, on cons, kind of goes with the first one, and that's the testing. The testing is the number 1, but number 6 is data collection. You have to overwhelmingly keep track of so much data to prove that you're doing your job appropriately that it gets in the way of teaching. If you're a principal or a superintendent or someone that is in political office that has anything to do with the educational boards, stop making us collect so much data. It's ridiculous. We are tired of collecting so much data to prove that we do our jobs. Con number 6 for me is data collection. Con number 7 is sometimes you have to break a kid's heart with their grade. Every single year you have those kids that try so hard and they just can't seem to get above a D or a C. Sometimes you have to break their heart. There is ways to get around breaking their heart whenever they are a consistent C student or a consistent D student, and that is going to come up in another video. Number 7, sometimes you have to break a kid's heart with their grade. Con number 8, guys, is a little bit more serious, and I'll obviously take a little bit more serious tone with it. It's that there may be a situation one day where you're the only thing standing between a gunman and your students. If that ever happens to you, obviously it's not a good situation. I think about it all the time. What would I do in this situation? What would I do in that situation? What do I need to tell my kids to be in that situation? I teach 3rd grade, and 3rd grade minds aren't really prepared for what am I going to do if I'm at school and there's a mass shooting happening. You know, think about kindergartners in this situation. Kindergartners won't know what to do at all if this is happening. Unfortunately, we have to prepare for those events because we live in a sick world where those things happen. Number 8 for me, guys, is that someday you may be in a situation where you're the only thing standing between a gunman and your students. Number 9 con, guys, has to do with children outside of school. There is no way to prepare you for when you find out a child is being abused. If you've ever been in that situation where you found that out and you've had to make that horrible phone call because you're a mandatory reporter, there is no way to prepare you emotionally for what that does to you inside school and outside school. you still have to treat that child with the same respect that you did before. You still have to treat them just like any other child in your classroom, because all of your children are equal. But in the back of your mind, you know this horrible stuff that has happened to them in the past, and you only want the best for them. So number 9 for me, guys, on the con list is what it does to you emotionally when you find out a child is being abused. Con number 10 is the constant keeping up with new material and certifications. Constantly, teachers are having to go through training after training after training that sometimes we get thrown into that maybe doesn't even work, and maybe that we're trying for the first time and we have to learn all these new things and then go back and try to implement this in our classroom, and then the next year we're doing something different. Keeping up with the training and the certifications is one of the hardest things that I don't think people understand that teachers have to go through. You're trying to be a teacher along with, remember, a nurse and a secretary and a principal and an assistant principal and a parent, but then they also want you to keep up with all these other certifications. Well, you already have a bachelor's degree. Your college that you went to already said that you're allowed to teach, already said that you're good enough to teach. The state that you live in has already certified you to be a teacher. Why are we going through all these extra training and certification? Now, I get it. There's new things that happen and better ways and all that, whatever. But it shouldn't have to be as constant as it is, especially for new teachers who are trying to learn how to become the best teacher that they can possibly be. Number 10 for me, guys, is keeping up with the certifications and all the extra things you have to learn every year. Hey guys, thanks again for watching this episode of my personal pros and cons of education. I know I had 10 pros and 10 cons. There's probably other ones out there. If you've thought of something that is a pro for you or a con for you and you want to mention it to me, maybe it's something I didn't think of, please comment down below. Of course, if you liked the video, please make sure you hit the like button. If you would subscribe to me, you can see my content coming up in the next few weeks. I would really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and remember, teachers grow better together. Pro tip 4, guys, is that you get the opportunity to be a great role model for modeling. Number 7. Con number 7.